And this is it. This is the one that you've been waiting for, football fans. Appreciate the time that you gave to us tonight. Dane Brugler of The Athletic, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, I know it's really busy at this point. I will try not to get too deep dive and get us off track too much because we have a ton. Folks, you know Dane, at least you've heard me talk about the beast and the product that he puts out. And I've been a subscriber for, I don't know, 7 years now, something like that. Like it's a go-to for me. And then I appreciate what you do probably more so than most people understand, because it's tough. And I want to start just about process. Do you find it easier or harder now, as we look at the difference between the college game and the pro game, to make that leap, that projection? I think that's the hardest part about this whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're spot on. As the game evolves, so does scouting and what you're looking for. And, what you looked for 10 years ago is different than what you're looking for now. And it's tough doing this from an outside perspective, because I'm not scouting for a specific scheme or a specific culture. I'm doing it from a very generic standard or point of view where, this guy, this corner ideally best in a zone scheme, and this player ideally best in a man scheme. And it can be tough from that respect where, you're doing all these players from a general outlook, where for teams, they're doing it for a specific, set of criteria of what they're looking for. And so from that respect, it could be a little tough, but there's nothing I'd rather be doing. I feel like I don't work a day in my life. And that's a great feeling. So I really enjoy doing this.
The big thing for me is, as I read through the books and as we, get new input from new sets of eyes, put it that way. The thing that stands out to me is every now and then there's a couple of surprises, and it never seems to be that everybody sees the same kind of thing. So I guess to get specific about this class, as you look through and everybody's film is more spread out, and maybe it's only 19 film, or maybe you have bits and pieces of 20. If you could, for me, off the top of your head, who are a couple of guys that you think might actually be surprises, either where they're taken or that they're taken, rather than the UDFA type level?
You mean like just players that are going to be taken earlier rather than, or maybe than people think, or
than the common consensus?
And this year especially is tough when, the no combine and not having a lot of the steps that were usually for teams that they usually have, like no facility visits. Not being able to have private workouts, not being able to get to know these guys on a personal level as well as you'd like to. I mean, they can do Zoom just like we're doing right now, but they can't, do a private workout. They can't bring the player to the facility. And so not learning about these players, it's harder to make connections between players and teams like we usually are able to do in a normal setting. But I think, just some of the more, the tougher prospects this year in terms of trying to nail down exactly where they're going to go. You've got a couple guys like, a Walker Little out of Stanford, who, it looked like he was on a possible first round trajectory based off of what he put on film in 2018. But then 2019, he gets hurt in the season opener. He played well in that game. He got hurt late in the game. So at least we had, one game basically in 2019. Knee injury, and then he misses almost opts out of this past year in 2020. So it's a player we haven't really seen in 2 years. It makes it really tough to fully understand, okay, what's his value in the draft, and that's tough. Sean Wade, Ohio State's another one where he could go top 100, he could go sneak into the third round, he could be drafted in the fifth round. It's really tough to decipher where teams look at, view a talent like that, who a guy that's talented, no doubt about it, but his 2020 film was so rough. And is it as simple as, moving him back inside is going to fix a lot of those issues? Is it, is it something more? I mean, he was banged up this past year. There were some injury questions. So it makes it tough for players like that who, especially this year with the pandemic and not being able to get to know them better. We think that maybe they could fall a little bit further, but they could go earlier. All it takes is one team. And that's the beauty of the draft is I could talk to 31 teams and get an opinion about a player, but maybe that 32nd team sees the player very differently and drafts him much higher than we think. And so that's a part of this that, makes it really tough, because we're never going to know how all 32 teams think. And as much as people want to think that there's, a consensus among NFL teams, it's not even close. I mean, the word consensus shouldn't even be used in NFL draft conversations because, you look at wide receivers, the wide receiver rankings are so different from team to team. It's crazy. I think fans would be they would be shocked at some of the different rankings that, I've been told by different teams. It's something that we consider scheme, you consider role, specifics of what that each team is looking for culture wise. I was talking to someone the other day about a player that I don't think there's any issues, like, character issues. And they told him that their background check, they had to cross them off the board. I'm just, oh wow, okay. No issues that I've heard of. And so there's so much that goes into it that it would be a surprise if fans could really peek behind the curtain and see some of the process about how everything is, the process of how the board gets made, and then ultimately how these picks happen.
I want to get your gut opinion, just taking a look at the first round. How many more trades do you think we should expect?
Good question. I think with the quarterbacks alone, you figure quarterbacks should go 1, 2, 3, and then the Falcons have a big decision to make if they're going to trade out of there for a package of picks, or if they're going to stay put, take the quarterback, take the non-quarterback, likely Kyle Pitts, and then that. Let's just say, for hypothetical, let's just say the Falcons stay put, they take a quarterback, then that fifth quarterback most likely is going to be a trade up. Whether that's the Broncos moving up 2 spots to get them, or the Patriots moving up, or, however it shakes out, that fifth quarterback likely is going to be a trade up. At least that's probably the best chance of it happening. And then that, the quarterbacks are going to give us, a chance of another trade. And then it'll get interesting. I don't know that we're going to see a ton of first round trades, like, just for position players. I think because a lot of teams are going to want to move back. There's a lot of teams are trying to move back. There's no question about that. But how many teams are looking to trade up? Who are they trading up for? I just don't know that this draft has those guys where, okay, we got to go get them. We have to trade up, and maybe if a Jalen Waddle were to fall, we could see a trade up there. But enough of these positions, like offensive tackle and pass rusher, there's a lot of these guys, where I don't think a team's going to say we have to trade up if we want to get our guy, because they can stay put and still feel comfortable with the plan B, or, who falls to them. So I'm going to be really interested to see this first round, how much action there is, how much movement there is, because I just don't know that this year we have those, no doubt about it, guys in the top half of the first round that teams want to go get. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Who knows? A team might view a guy like a Micah Parsons or a Zaven Collins as one of those guys, as, hey, we got to go get him. We can't wait for our plan B here. That's always possible. But I'll be interested to see on draft Thursday night, draft night, what kind of movement we get.
I will too. I think that's going to be really entertaining. I want to switch over to the Chiefs, because I don't know that they're going to be winning, but the more that I see about what they're looking for in particular, at least in terms of positional need, it does feel like there's a compression that is where they want to be if they really want to get somebody that can make an impact for them. I have a couple of other position groups that I really want to get your take on, though, because I find this a really intriguing DB class, particularly at corner, because it seems like there's a lot of guys that are more projections than normal in an average year, less guys that are kind of sure things about what scheme they belong in, can really thrive in. Am I off, or is it more question marks than usual?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that a lot of these guys are, and it kind of mirrors the pass rush group, I think, too, where it's a really intriguing group of flawed but skilled players. And, like you look at the second round, that's going to be a sweet spot for a lot of these corners. Could Asante Samuel Jr. and Elijah Molden and Eric Stokes and Kelvin Joseph, Tyson Campbell, Melifonwu, Aaron Robinson, Paulson Adebo could sneak in there. I mean, I just rattled off 7 corners, and I don't know that any of those 7 sneak into the first, but the third feels like it's too late for them. So, it's going to be a really interesting second round of corners. And obviously all 7 of those guys aren't going to pan out. There's going to be some guys that don't live up to expectations in there, but it's anyone's guess at this point who that might be. A lot will depend on where they end up, what kind of development they receive. Because like I said, talent is not the question with these guys. They're extremely talented, but maybe they're missing one thing, or, it just depends on being in the right position or, the right situation. So, I think you're right by saying there's just a lot of question marks here. And even the guys at the top, Patrick Surtain, I love a lot as a player. But he's not he lacks ideal twitch. And there are times where, you can see explosive route runners gain that separation. Now, Surtain, because of his technique, because he is a good athlete, he's able to recover and stay in position. But the explosive route runners can create these pockets of separation. JC Horn, the over-aggressive just mentality that he plays with, it's a double-edged sword. Works great at times, but also backfires at times. Caleb Farley, he's the most talented corner in this draft, without question, in my opinion. But with the durability factor, the medical history, 2 back procedures, he also has an ACL over the last 4 years. That's a big red flag, and each team is going to look at that a little bit differently. At what point do you feel comfortable drafting Caleb Farley? Just based on talent, I think he's one of the top 10 talents in this class, maybe even top 5, top 7. But there's some red flags there. So yeah, I think you're right. This corner group is, like I said, it's a group of really skilled but flawed players.
2 of those guys really stand out to me. And real quickly, I think if I'm a GM, Farley's injuries kind of scare me off. I think he does fall out of the first. If it's me, I just don't know. That said, the other guy that I just can't quantify where I want to put him is Molden. And the more I think about it, I look at his athletic testing, I look at how instinctual he is, I feel like space is good for him. And I know he's played a ton of nickel, but do you prefer him off the ball in kind of what he did in 2020, playing a safety role? Or do you think he can just slide in and be that nickel that's up in somebody's face?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because, he doesn't have that recovery speed where if he loses off the line of scrimmage, he's toast. And that's obviously a worry. I think he belongs in the nickel. That's where he's best. You probably want him off the line of scrimmage a little bit, protecting against that speed. I was told that, he was injured a little bit during his pro day. So that 4.6 that he ran might be a little, there's an asterisk there. But at the same time, he's not a 4.4 guy. I expected him to run in the high 4.5s. So I wasn't completely shocked by the 4.6, but he's just so instinctive. He's a guy that is right place, right time type of guy. Love the ball skills, love the compete skills, urgent player, plays with his hair on fire. So there's so much to like about him, but because he doesn't have that elite long speed, do you have to protect him a little bit with where you line him up and how you use him? Yeah, probably. And that's going to be an issue for some teams where they're not willing to do that in their scheme. But for a team that is, I think they're going to get a really good player in Molden who, he could go second round, he could go third round. He's a tough one to figure out because he is so specific with his role.
Everybody, that's Dane Brugler. Go get the Athletic subscription if you're not already, because if you haven't, you're way behind on the beast right now. So, Dane, thanks for the time tonight.
Anytime. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to